Suzuka was one way to start off a new season, having some close racing and some bumps and bangs to go along with it. But now we've flown just about 16 hours to the other side of the globe for round two of Nanao here at Oulton Park. Welcome everybody, my name is Ted Edwards, and on the mic and the cameras again is the man himself, Jesse Lee. Welcome in, Jesse. How are you?
Yes, hello everybody. Hello, welcome again, Ted. You know, this brand new season, Night Owl Season 14, entering its second round here tonight. This is the complete and polar opposite of Suzuka. I saw what you did there with the track choice.
Yeah, it's I had to spice it up a little bit. I hear from some of the guys that it's sort of a crazy choice as they've been practicing all week, and there's been a suspicion of rain about here. The track has gone greasy at times, so they're not too pleased, but they're getting around just fine from now on. That is though, but yeah, it's 5 minutes left of qualifying. Sorry for the late stream, but we had a few little things to fix up. But as you can see here, Daly on pole at the provisional pole with Phil Robertson second. Joe Dolber in third and Timothy Flanger fourth, Green Lily from fifth for the pro lot. So Daly's almost half a second quicker than Phil Roberts right now, flying in that M4. So he's really charging on, really getting to grips with the car and the track. Track is optimum now. It did start off, I think, green, Jesse, so not that much grip, but people are finding their grip now. Daly's just gone faster again, so his track is evolving pretty nicely from some drivers.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's quite interesting that, well, when you start off with a green or even a fast racetrack, how much it changes. And it's more than just the track condition, the general track condition that it is. Sometimes it improves, actually, all the time, really. It improves beyond that. So within the green, the fast, and the optimum stage, you are still losing or gaining grip in there. It never goes past optimum, but not all optimum is created equal.
That is true. And just looking at the silver lot, Redford is provisional pole, followed by the 175, followed by the 10, Zoric and Lopez. Ferrari, Merc, Ferrari. So there's two Ferraris up there. Malcolm and Kwiatkowski for the pro lot in the Ferraris aren't doing as well as the silver lot. So could be down to the setups, could be down to the drivers enjoying the track a lot more than the others. But you never know, we just have to wait and see. Still 3 minutes left, still enough to get, if you're already out on track, enough to get 2 laps in at least. And if you're in the pits, you can even get one more lap in, depending on how good your tyres are. But just have to keep an eye on them. Some people are going a little bit quicker, but they are loosening it in sections of the track. So we just have to keep an eye out, really. You know, Daly's away with this right now with half a second gap. But Phil Roberts in front of Joe Dolber is a pretty big one to see. You know, we've been hearing about Phil Roberts getting quicker and quicker over his racing career, and I remember when Phil was not as fast as he is right now. He used to struggle quite a bit, and he loses it with the car a few times when it doesn't go right. But look at it right now, he's really focused and getting those good laps in.
Certainly is. Of course, some other drivers in the field we're looking at that are improving. Of course, you got Steer in the middle of this race pack. They're trying to move up some positions. You talk about Phil Roberts and the progress they've been able to make. They're a driver that I feel like always underestimates their driving and their racing ability. And it's clear to me, I mean, consistent top 10s, and the times, quite frankly, when they're not inside the top 10, it's often usually not of their own fault. So you have that. One of those drivers I think you're going to have to pay attention to, and certainly something different for Jordan Daly, who has enjoyed quite a bit of running out in the front of this field. Now they have a very new competitor. There is one glaring omission from tonight's qualifying so far.
Yeah, oh, just see, looking there, Pusina in the M4 903 has gone up into 5th place overall provisional first in the silver class. So smoking Redford with that time, just about, what's that, 6/10, almost 6/10, just about 5.7 but still, it's a really quick time. Redford now has to come back with even faster time. With only 1 minute 20 left on the clock, so it's getting a little bit spicy around here now, Jesse. As you see, 2 more silvers, Lopez and Zoric is now moved up as well as Steiner just goes up into ninth in the pro class. Well, overall in the pro class though, but yeah, everyone's moving around. That track is getting better and better.
Yeah, it certainly is. Of course, just kind of mention that too. Optimum, not all optimum is created equal. I would probably call the best the track could get. I'm going to go ahead and call that Optimus Prime. I think we're approaching the Optimus Prime point of the racetrack where it's literally transforming into the best possible grip there is. Quite interesting day we have out here as well. Nothing really to complain about. Completely overcast clouds, but even still, 13 degrees, track and ambient matched. No wind to speak of. I don't think I've ever seen a day in anywhere in England where it wasn't windy, but here you have it here, surrounded by the trees and the lovely forest therein. Such a lovely racetrack in its own. It's a completely different sort of circuit, a very technical racetrack. I think we can all agree in comparison to Suzuka. It was wide open. It was very fast. 130, 200R, obviously spoon very quick. Here, it's a very tight, it's a technical track. It's a track that you get one corner wrong, you may end up getting a lot of them wrong.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. Time is up. Anyone crossing the line now will not get another lap. And I don't think Redford has got another lap. No, Redford is on his last lap. He just snuck across the line just in time. So if he keeps this going, he will settle out. It depends if he can go fast enough or not. Just looking at the timing, Flamga is now in second place with a 1:33.120 and is on another lap with some time in it as well. So Flamga, Dolbert, Roberts has dropped down to fourth. He's in the pit lane, so he won't be doing another lap. Steiner is finished. He won't be doing another lap either, in fifth place at the moment. Pusina is in the pit lane for silver. Redford, just see the yellow dot there, 95. He went got the chicane wrong, I think, and just gave up on his lap. So he's in second at the minute. Lopez and Zorik both in the pit lane. So I think that's silver locked out for the top lot. Yeah, everyone in silver class is in the pit lane. It's just a few pros going around. Here is Mohammed in the 32 Mercedes. Went up to sixth place, I believe. Yeah, sixth place. So a big improvement for them with a 1 minute 33.475. Very nice from them. Someone else just moved as well. Was that Kierkowski coming across the line? I think it was into ninth place. We're 1:33.827.
Well, qualifying over for the day. Let's take a look at how they have stacked up. We'll return you here. That is not the right button. I've just clicked right there. We're going to go back to the garage. We're going to look at the timetables. Jordan Daly, quickest of them all, a 32.742. Good enough for pole position over Timothy Flamger in the end, a 32.887, nearly 1.5 tenths quicker than Timothy Flamger. Joe Dauber and Phil Roberts share the very next row, tightly contested indeed. Those drivers in the 33s. You got Steer and Solami in the 5th and 6th place positions. Adna Pusina joined us in chat to say that they didn't expect their car to drive as well as it has, that 903 BMW, but they have taken pole in the silver class as well. The silver championship points will be interesting to see in just a moment in time. Speaking of that, Ted Edwards, what are we looking at for the championship points?
Oh, well, it's a pretty close one in silver class, as what I know, Jesse Lee. But first, we do have the pro standings. Once they slide across my face, here they are. Jordan Daly in first with a nice 69 points. Very nice from Daly there.
It is nice points total.
It is. Second and third, Flamger and Yilmaz at 58 and 56, followed by Grim Lilith, Neil Pimlott, Phil Roberts, 4th, 5th, and 6th with a 48 points, 44 points, and 40 points. Steiner, Kurt, and Kierkowski and Suami is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th with 37, 34, 31, and 28. So yeah, pretty close. Obviously, that is only round 1 so far, so you have to wait for a few more rounds to go to see how close they can get. And here's your next 6, should I say. We've got 11th, 12th, and 13th is Matthews Ferreras, Eda Ascardo, and Matthew Malcolm with 0, 0, and 0. Dolber and Vlad Vlasen 0, 0. I didn't read the points, but ignore me. But Power Gacha, I think, has signed out the championship, what I saw earlier on, which is unfortunate. But that is your pro standings. Jesse, would you like to do the silver standings?
Sure can. Let's take a look at the championship silver standings. 65 points apiece for Adna Pusina and Inigo Lopez. They're tied at the top of the board after the one round thus far. One of them got the pole and the fastest lap. The other one, Slap, won the race. That's how we stand at 65 points apiece. Kevin Boss, the Dutch driver, with 53 points in third place in that Lamborghini. Looking good so far. Alexander Ulrichs on 48 in fourth. Bryn Jones, the Welsh driver, with 44 points, rounds out your top five. Another driver from the Netherlands, Rick Schuten, with 40 points to their name. Salil Mustak with 37 points. Tim Ireland, hey, we know that guy, 34 points. Everybody else in the silver class has yet to score championship points. There were more drivers than scored points in the race for round number one. Why didn't they get points? Well, you have to finish 85% of the race here at RCI.
And also, isn't that Tim Ireland guy? That guy from he does the Monday Jam stuff.
He might be that guy. That might be the guy
That guy.
that we all know and love. Folks, we're going to be right back. We're actually not going to go anywhere. We're going to continue to talk to you. But as you can see, they are on the grid for the time being, and they will set off. But we're just going to go to a quick trackside cam, and it's going to be the wrong trackside cam. We're going to go back to Suzuka 1 week ago, and we're going to talk as I deal with some things here on the back end. Ted Edwards, I've got to say, round number one, it was pretty interesting racing, all things considered, wasn't it really? But a lot of argy-bargy.
Yeah, there sure was. Unfortunately, we didn't have the replay cams for last week, but yeah, I picked up on a few, saw what I could see from my end, and yeah, there's some argy-bargies. It's close racing. It's round one. Everyone's a little bit fighty for the position. They want all the points they can get. Might be missing a round or two in the championship. So you sort of want to get the best points you can. Suzuka's not that great, for the grip level as it is. So some people underestimating how much brake they've put on compared to the other guy if they're going side by side into a corner, especially like turn one. It's the double right-hander, two apexes and that. You go in and hit one and go out and then come back in to hit the other one. And sliding there is very easy to do. You're coming straight off the straight and hitting. And we saw a few times we saw that happen. Some cars get span out, and unfortunately we had quite a few retirements there. I think it was 4 or 5. So big shame. But Suzuka's always one of those tracks where heavy braking points, really fast corners. You got T1 and Spoon are like very identical. One has a double apex to the right and one has a double apex to the left, and very similar of how you negotiate them. And especially if you're too wide, it's you're gonna be banging doors. But there was some really good close racing between the other drivers as well. We saw Neil Pimlott and folks like that. I think it was a 4-way fight for one position with like 15 minutes left to go of the race. So there were some really good times, really good things we saw at Suzuka. Just a few things you guys didn't see, unfortunately, but maybe we'll have that back for you tonight. We'll just have to wait and see if our equipment plays ball with us tonight, eh, Jesse?
Yeah, it certainly will likely either it's gonna or I'm going to make it one way or another here tonight. Not missing anything, still sitting on the grid, getting ready to drop and go on their signing lap, the one pace lap before we go green tonight. Just a special apology to Phil Roberts, who I understand has a new livery tonight, and we're still showing the old one due to the nature of how ACC does the livery. So we do apologize to Phil Roberts. We've had a host of technical issues, all my fault, admittedly, this evening, and that has prevented us from retrieving the right livery. Ted, have you seen it, and can you describe it to us, please?
I think it's the same colours as I can't remember what his old one looks like because I got the new one now. But it's blue on the bonnet and on the sides, and then the rest of it's yellow. And I think it's meant to be similar to a livery that we've seen IRL, but with a few twists, of course, because you can't copy liveries with certain logos and stuff on here at RCI just to cover ourselves. But it looks really, really nice. Phil always really puts like 150% into his liveries, and I gotta say, it is a very, very nice to see. And it is the Kaiju Racing car. Don't forget, little team he drives with. I think a few guys from RCI themselves are in it as well. Got one of his sponsors on there, Digby Digital. I think you've heard of that before, Jesse.
I'm a big
Uh,
fan. Big fan.
and Centec High Performance Yeet Systems is my favorite one. I like to run on my car, and um, but yeah, that's I think that one you're looking at there is yeah, that is the old one,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it
It is
certainly is.
a
I definitely saw it and went, "What's different about it?" But yes, again, due to the process that you are required to do to replace one
yeah.
after it's already been uploaded. So again, my apologies to Phil Roberts. We will see it next week. We're going to see it next week, and for the remainder, the majority of the championship here today. But nonetheless, starting off of the grid, we take you back to the live pictures. This man, the Just Gamers 197, piloted by Jordan Daly, out in front of this field. What's he got to do to hang on to the lead through the first couple of turns?
He just needs to, keep his. The Oulton Park's very tight. There's one of these tracks where, last week Suzuka's very wide track. You can go 2 wide, 3 wide in most parts, and it's pretty easy. You're not gonna be, it's hard to defend, but it's easy to attack. Whereas this track is easy to defend and hard to attack. Just look how tight it is there. You can get 3 cars on that part of the track, but it's not it's not the one thing you want to end up with. But you can go 2 wide for most of it. But coming to the hairpin and the chicanes is one of those things where if you go 2 wide, you're going to be very, very slow. So most of the time you just go single file through there. So Daly can just, you know, do what he wants to do. He's leading the pack on first few laps, and you just got to try and not slide, not spin. Hopefully not get hit by Flanger or Dolber in the rear end, which can happen with the braking zones here. Some cars can brake later than the others, but we just have to wait and see. Basically, any driver here, the best thing for them to do is defend.
Well, other tales from the pit lane tonight. This man, Matthew Malcolm, joining us in chat, joining us in the race, saying that they have a broken finger or something to do with a hand, and they are still in the race here tonight. They've got the driver excuses out of the way. They also said that it was a poor excuse. I think that's actually a pretty good excuse. That cannot feel good. Hopefully managing that this evening, and just sort of chuffed that you're here in the first place. Good luck in the race. Adna Pusina again told us that they were surprised their car had as much pep in it as it did earlier on. Who will be the winners and the losers, and will we see a big kerfuffle here? Oulton Park, known for the sort of, I would say the accidents, slip-ups in the chicane, and even before you get there, quite frankly, as you go through Knickerbrook and all of that section. Quite interested to see how it goes. Neil Pimlott has disconnected and reconnected. I knew we had 21 cars. It was down to 20 and now back up to 21. Neil Pimlott has disconnected on the grid. Ted, it's good to be back here in Night Owl for round number 2 of season 14. Daly and Flamger, two very familiar foes up in front of the race tonight. Take us away.
Yes, Daly and Flanger. They do like to race each other very hard, and most of the time end up in a little bit of door banging. But here we come around the last corner onto the main straight. Not too long until they hit the start-finish line, and the green flag will wave, and they'll shoot off like a rocket. Just have to see who gets the best launch off the line. Here we go. It's green, green, green. And one person has already got DT down in silver. We'll catch up with that in a bit. Here goes Daly on the inside. Should have a better entry and exit. Flanger on the outside in the Porsche goes really wide. Phil Roberts on the grass turns into a lawnmower. Not one thing you want to do. Joining is really hard. He does make it back on safely. Loses a ton of positions. Ends up behind Pusina. I think that is there in the 903. But everyone so far not too bad. There's one car off at the start finish. I'm not sure who that is, but we'll catch up with that in a second.
That's the 962 has gone off there.
That is Kettle. Lee Kettle, for some reason, has gone off. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Phil Roberts almost loses it out of the hairpin. Just save it. It's very tricky there, especially with the cold tyres they are on. They need to warm these tyres up. It is 14-degree ambient and track, so not that warm. So they won't warm as quick as they would normally do. Like Suzuka was a lot warmer in round 1, but here round 2, it just British weather is nice and cold. as we come through the second chicane, all nice and neatly. Single file, as I said before, is the best thing you want to do, especially with these colder tyres. You don't want to ruin them straight away. Grimly looking on the outside of Steiner in the Audi doesn't make it with the V8 power under that bonnet of that Mad Panda car, but we just have to wait and see. It's only lap 1, don't forget. You don't win the race in turn 1, and you don't win the race on lap 1, so just got to play it out and, you know, hope that person in front makes a mistake and you can slip past, but not too bad so far. But yeah, that DT, the 623, Rick Shooten, he got drive through for being out of position on the formation on the start, so that's really gonna suck for him for that drive through. He's got to serve that 2 more laps he's got, and then he will get, I think it's a qualification, Jesse.
He will indeed get disqualified if he doesn't serve that penalty. For those of you wondering how you get a drive-through for being out of position, there's a little infographic that shows up on your screen when you're getting ready to take the green flag of a race. It tells you not only where you have to be laterally, it tells you where you have to be, obviously, sort of horizontally as well. So you have to be inside this virtual box, and if you start out of position, or in, I suspect, the case of the Rickster himself, that's what I'm going to call him from now on, I assume he was starting in the curve of the racetrack and wasn't prepared or had never done that before. It can be quite tricky. Of course, shades of Kyalami years ago, it is easier now, but definitely when Kyalami came out, ooh, a big move there. Outbroke themselves, certainly. But Kyalami, it used to be absolutely horrible coming through Ingwe and onto the front straight. You could almost assure several cars are going to get drive-throughs. They'd fix that. This, though, I just think was being caught out just a little bit. Jordan Daly leads the race by more than a second now. A little bit of a gap back to Timothy Flamker, who kept pace with him through lap number 1. Phil Roberts, who started on that second row, down to P7 after his on-track off. And an update from Lee Kettle, best first name in sim racing, by the way, that 962 Ferrari didn't show up on any of our reports, meaning that in all likelihood was a self-induced spin off of the apex of the first turn. I do have some replays coming at you. Joe Dauber had a little contact with Phil Roberts. That sent Phil Roberts wide. Let's take a look and show you exactly what happened there.
This is start going into T1. Let's see what happened to Phil, because obviously he went really, really wide. Oh, just a little nudge there. I don't know who really is at fault. Pretty. The thing is, going to T1 first. First lap T1, you're going side by side no matter what off the start, and bumps like that can happen. But maybe Phil turned in a bit too much. Maybe Dolber was just, had his elbows out, as we like to say, and just kept, got his car really wide and just shoved Phil off. So. It is a shame. Of course, there is no live stewarding for this championship. Stewards are taking a bit of a break, as we, we have a few here. Phil Roberts and Tim Island in this race. Just chilling out, having a bit of fun. Probably not for Phil right now, with that T1 incident. But all over the grass with Steiner. That's not what you want to do. Kevin Estra style. Wrong car though. But yeah, no. Yo.
There were a couple of cars all over the racetrack there. What you saw, though, was Marvin Steer making a move on Tim Ireland that has stuck Steer out in front of him. Steer nearly drove off the racetrack themselves. I wonder if Tim Ireland was the car that drove off the racetrack a little bit. But everybody back on now. Everything looking decent enough for the time being. Let's take a look here at what happened to the 623. That is Shooten, who had their issues. They've also had a little bit of contact here with car number 13.
Coming into the second chicane. Ooh.
That's on lap 1, so that's not a replay of what we saw live. Ooh. That happened on lap 1.
Yeah, so as you see there, the Porsche hit the curve, bounced into Shooten, the McLaren, and then Shooten they both go wide, but Shooten goes a bit wide and pushes the Porsche off as well, so both at fault for that. It's one of those things, like I say, you don't really want to go too wide into these chicanes, because it doesn't really work. It helps the guys behind you and the guys in front of you, but you two or three that are fighting, it just doesn't help that much. It just slows you down quite a lot because you both had to brake a lot more and go through the chicane a lot slower. So it's one of these tracks you see where you have to use your brain, and you can't just dive someone into a corner all the time. You know, the last corner here you can, and you got to make it stick. It's you know, tight corners, tight track. You just gotta get your thinking cap on.
Certainly do. You've got to be very aware of your surroundings, what you're doing. It's so easy to get yourself into trouble in this race, in any race, regardless, but specifically at Oulton Park. Super easy to get into trouble. Speaking of getting into trouble, Tim Ireland is going backwards. Didn't come off the final corner appropriately there. Matthew Malcolm racing with a broken finger and or hand, maybe a little bit of both, but he's going to get the position up into 15th place for Matthew Malcolm. Other contacts happening out there, talking about Tim Ireland. Let's look at what happened with him versus Jones.
Too wide, going into the chicane again. Just little bumps and bangs hitting the curb. It's not a curb you want to hit like that. As you see, it lifts the front end up and pushes you wide, and yeah, just the Ferrari went into Tim. Matthew Malcolm just with his feet. You can't blame that on the finger, Jesse. But
no,
yeah.
it's a tight place to be working on the racetrack, and sometimes you go in there and maybe you're a little too hot, maybe you're not given enough space. I don't know, but contact, it sort of those chicanes, especially tight chicanes here, that breeds that sort of contact. Grim Lilith's still trying to get around Suhami, and it's not quite worked out for the 115. They're being somewhat patient here. The only problem is Phil Roberts, who you remember was deposed, I think, knocked off the racetrack a little bit. They went down to 7th place. They gained a position on Redford, and now they're right behind Grim for 5th place. Now, both these cars hungry to get around the 20 or the 32 Mercedes. They're going to have to do this quite smartly. They're not quite close enough to do it just yet. The 225, Phil Roberts, has had additional contact. This with Adam Pusina. Let's take a look here.
Yeah, I was the car that he filtered in behind after the off at turn 1. So he come into the last corner and just sends it with the Centec energy on the inside, and I guess Pusina didn't really expect him to be there. Turned in, I would presume, because Phil was hugging that apex like he should be with a send like that, and yeah, Pusina just turns in and bonks the front, which then pushes them a little bit wider than they was meant to do. But you just got to keep an eye out for these sends here. That's the thing that you have to work. You know, it's a tight track. You don't have many straights. But you got to keep looking in your mirrors. You got to keep listening to your spotter when they say, you know, sort of someone's on your inside or on your outside and stuff. You've got to be aware at all times, because, you know, like Grim, he just wants to send it all the time, and Swami needs to know, or needs to keep a lookout, even though they're coming into braking zones. He needs to see if Grim's sent it. It's just one of those things that this track is very, very difficult. I think that's why we don't do multi-class here. We don't do like a 6 hours, a GT3 and GT4, or a GT4 and a TCX or whatever, because it's very difficult to do without people ending up in barriers through you know, the faster class car trying to dive in the inside or around the outside or whatever, and Grim Lilith making a mistake here. Phil Roberts on the inside through, what's that, turn 4 onto the long straight to turn 5 at the left-hander.
It's a big slide from Grim. He's going to just about make it back onto the racetrack. That is so dangerous and scary. How many times have we seen cars skid to the outside off of the rubbered-in line and hard into the wall, knowing that was the fate? Just about saved it from Grim Lilith. I don't think that was a designed pass or a manufactured pass, as I think that caught Grim unawares.
I think Grim's struggling. You know, we know he's the fastest fingers in sim racing with his controller, but Redford sends it from the inside. That is not what you want to do, especially in silver class in first place. Pusina now closes the gap a bit more. Redford, what are you doing? Chill out, take the slipstream, and try and pull away from Pusina. You know, 1.3 seconds, probably close down to, there you go, 6/10, Jesse. That's 1.1 seconds. I think that was just gone, or 1 second just gone. So trying to send it like that on a pro class car, you're not gaining any more points. Yes, you're gaining bragging rights, but that's not what you want to do at this stage in the game. 11 minutes in, sorry, not 12, 11 minutes into the race, and that's definitely not something you want to be doing. Here's Deer on Jones trying to get past in the pro class on a silver. Jones is not giving it any way. Jones can just let him through, but I think he's just gonna cover him off. Got Lopez and Malcolm behind. So Silver Pro, still not letting him through. It doesn't have to let him through, obviously. Matthew Malcolm just gets past Lopez in the background there.
Oh, here we go! It's kicking off!
Oh, it's very close around here. Can he make it?
Oh!
It's very, very tight, but keeps hold of that Audi. Now we've got another left-hander Jesse. It's a bit faster. Can lose, like you said, Grim.
Oh, it's the same situation as Grim!
Wide. Yeah. Oh, there you go, Steiner onto the grass. Sorry, Steiner. Deer. I keep saying Steiner. I don't know why. There's no.
Gunther's not in this race, just so you know.
No,
he's too busy.
That's what I'm thinking.
He's too busy, you know, running the 7th most successful Formula 1 team.
But yeah, it doesn't make it. That could have gone a lot worse, Jesse. Especially if it was wet grass. You go off and you can head towards those black tire barriers. It's still fighting a bit. Oh, it's getting close. This is not where you want to be fighting. This is the worst part of the track to try and have a fight.
But you have to. That's the thing, though, Ted. You absolutely have to. You can't give up ground. You have to contest these positions. If somebody's going to slow up in front of you, if somebody's making a pass, you have to have that instinct of, I'm going to go for it. And I will say, in this case, unlike some of the others that we saw, they did do it in a safe enough way. I'm okay with it. You can't back off, but I understand. This is obviously... You don't want to have a run in this part of the racetrack because you almost always know how it's going to end.
Yeah, well, you just look at the gap between Jones and Astbury, 7, 6, 7, and 6, 11th and 12th, almost 14-second gap from all this fighting. I think if Jones has let the pro cars through, but trying to do it strategically, you can let one through at a certain corner. If they go, that's the thing is, if they go for it, that's the thing you got to think about. But if you can let a pro car through, you can hold off the silver car that's behind them and still keep your place and still keep your fight there. But it's very difficult. You've got a lot of things to think about around this track. But just one of those things. Just looking at some lap times, Grim Lilith with a 33.8. There's what's that? Third car to do a 33. Now Grim was doing 34s when he was the other way around following.
By the way, Grim's back. That's right. Grim is behind Phil Roberts, but he's catching back up. Phil Roberts still hasn't got by Muhammad in what is that, 4th place.
Yep.
So these cars are all still the order's jumbled, but they're all still back together. Sorry, your point.
And that just goes to show that Mohammed is just defending. Like, there might not be quick with race pace. Obviously, quick with the qualifying is one thing, but maybe race pace they're not as quick, and maybe with the pressure behind them. Qualifying you don't have pressure. It's just the timing tower you're looking at, and sometimes people turn that off until they've done their qualifying and see where they've ended up. But with Phil Roberts, with Grim Lilith in the review, now it's Phil Roberts. Grim's caught up. Grim was doing 33s last lap, did a 34 this lap, obviously now right behind Phil Roberts. It's almost an 8-second Joe Dolber, so it just goes to show I actually was right for once, Jesse. If you defend here, you can keep your position for quite a while, and the cars behind you start bunching up, they start fighting because they want to get past each other and not thinking about getting past the guy in front. And it's just let them fight, they ruin their tyres, and you just do your own thing.
Well, all credit to Muhammad Afif Sohaimi, who has done such a great job racing inside the top 5. We saw a bit of this last week as well. And credit yourself a little bit better than that, Ted Edwards. You usually nail things like that. You know from the driver's perspective just about as well as almost anyone else. So, yeah, this is a racetrack, obviously, that lends itself to good defensive driving. You also have to, as well, have quite a bit of trust, I think is the right word. A lot of trust in those you're racing against, too, to say, hey, I am sort of shading towards the defensive line. Don't try to shove it up the inside. You know, that sort of thing. Let's be respectful. Let's have a respectful race. At some point, though, that will go away, and you know, you get tired of looking at the same rear end of the car, and you will eventually try and make some moves. Speaking of making moves, Ted, it is night out, and we haven't talked about it yet, so I think we should talk about it. I think we all know what the answer to the question is. I'll ask it anyway. What are the pit requirements for tonight's race?
There isn't any, Jesse.
What?
I know. No, there's no pit requirements tonight. I double checked myself, even though I set this up, you know, weeks ago, and pre-planned. But no, there is no pit requirements tonight. And apparently there was rain in practice, and there's no rain now, so it might not be too bad for the drivers. We're saying that though, you know, it's a cool track. Which is a good thing for the tyres, but then also it's a track that you use the tyres quite a bit. So we just have to see what people do. They don't even have to take any fuel or anything, so they can, you know, take the fuel they need from what they've calculated and try and get back. Oh, I just noticed something. Phil Roberts is down into 8th place, Jesse. Do you have any news on that? Do you have anything on your side? He's dropped. Back.
I don't as of yet, but there is damage on the left side of that car that wasn't there just a lap ago. So I don't know what may have happened. Whatever it was, it hasn't shown up on
I had him on my screen, but I wasn't even looking at my screen. So I didn't see what happened. Yeah. I just noticed he was down in 8th place.
Interesting damage. Look at that, folks. You can clearly see this at home as well. The left side of that Kaiju Racing 225, it's scraped up. That's not part of the paint work. That's not part of the body. You see the right side completely flawless. The left side, however, scraped up. And I don't know how you would have that unless you had contact. The only problem with that is if that would have been contact, I would have known about it. I have a sort of a tool that tells me when contact occurs, and it never happened for that. Very interesting, very odd.
Yeah, now I'm intrigued, Jesse, so I need to know.
Well, while you look that up, I'm going to take care of some of the other replays, racing action going on the day. This is the 93 of Adna Priscina and the 95. A little bit earlier on, Mike Redford. This was several laps ago. Oh, on the pit straight, a little bit of contact. This was back on lap number 4. And that's ultimately how Redford got in front of Adna Priscina for the silver lead. A little bit later on, the 115, a little bit of contact here. Grim Lilith makes contact with the back of Muhammad. And is there going to be contact? Yes, there is. Just the smallest bit. A little bit slower through the middle part of the corner. A little bit of contact. No harm, no foul, if you ask me. Lap 7 contact between the 91 and the 6. Marvin Steer coming down the back straight, if you'd ever want to call it one. Oh, nearly off the racetrack. Do they cheat? Yes, they do. This is not technically a cheat. I beg my own pardon there. That was kind of what you had to do. Go through the chicane, and I believe due process was taken there, though the 91 is in front of Jones still for this time. The 10 and the 6, we're not done with the 6 yet. The 10 and the 6 making contact just a little while after that. This is more recent, though. This is only about a lap or so ago. Racing in the middle of the pack. Just a little bit of a tap. Oh, man. Close racing action all over the place, Ted.
I think the 6, Brent Jones, just got a little bit too happy with the grip and didn't go wide enough and intended to the 10. So, you know, fault on them by my eyes, by what we can see. You know, you can go quite wide at the turn 1 exit curb. Don't go too wide though, because it will give you a track limit. Oh, Lopez gets passed by Malcolm in the chicane. Goes a bit wide, gets the entry all wrong.
Oh no! It's gone wrong for P4. Muhammad making contact with Grim Lilith, makes contact with Muhammad there. We showed you a replay of a little bit of contact earlier at the other end of the circuit. Here in the final corner, it's all gone wrong. The Mad Panda Motorsport liveried 115. Yep. Heavy contact in the final turn. That spun 4th place around. Muhammad rejoins. That allows Joe Dauber, Redford, Pusina through. Grim down to 9th place. Muhammad in 8th place. And that was a huge move, an unfortunate one.
Yeah, and I think Grim slowed up there to give the place back, because if this is not live stewarded, sorry, this championship, it is post race. So if Suimi puts a report in for takeout, then it says there's a little tick box that says position given back, and if you tick it, that means they gave it back. If you leave it blank, that means they just left you, and they will have to tick that because Grim let them back through, which is very respectful, good sportsmanship by Grim. He knew he messed up. There is a car off. Alan Asprey joins us for round 2. Didn't do round 1, and just a sensible thing by reversing and taking the inside line on the grass, and just going to take the grass. Oh no, this one again. Oh no, they saved it. Well, this is difficult.
What it certainly is. What I think it's a harsh transition, because going down into the hairpin, you're going downhill, and then you're changing surfaces from grass to gravel, back to grass, and then you get back to the racetrack bit, and then it's obviously cambered the complete opposite direction. It's got positive camber, and or negative camber in that case, and it's such a harsh transition. It's hard to do, and he's missed this corner as well. But Alan Asbury, I'm going to assume that wasn't contact with any other car. I just think they ran off the racetrack there and was able to save it. I don't see any damage to the car. The only damage done was on the timing and scoring table.
Yeah, I found out what happened with Bill Roberts as well. They came through the first chicane, sorry, and on the exit you got the little apex, and it's a very bumpy curb. Hit the curb and slid out to the left. Saved the car, but lost a lot of positions. And again, the 6 and the 10, and I think that was Jones that came for the worst. It is backwards VRMA car. Oh, that's not a good rejoin. What is that? I'm going to keep my mouth shut for that. Neil Pimlott almost ends up in the barrier, saves it on the grass, turns that M4 into a lawnmower. I've seen a lot of lawnmowers today, McLaren and an M4 BMW. But that rejoin is very questionable, Jesse, but it is what it is. But yeah, let's see what happened here. Did Bren just go out wide? Lopez keeps it in, just a little tap on the door, and with the front end of Bren's car, and sends him into the barrier. So depends how much damage he's got. He might have to come in and repair it. It's just that he has to decide that one on how the car feels. But here's Matthew Malcolm all over the rear end of Lopez with his fractured finger. Can Malcolm get past this car anytime soon? He's stuck behind these silver class cars for a while now, and one's gone into the barrier. There's another one to see what happens. But yeah, it was a bit questionable, Jesse.
That's a very sensible thing from Inigo Lopez, just using the turn signals to indicate I'm going this way, please go by. Of course, Lopez having their fair share of fights today. Let's show you one that happened just a couple of laps prior to that big contact we just saw. What happens to the 10 here? Are these the same couple of cars involved? You know it is. And the 199, just a little tap coming through the final turn. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, it's one of these things that happens. Is Shawimi is now in 8th place, followed by Grim Lilith. I can see there. I wonder what happened to them.
Oh, they're making contact is what they're doing. Grim takes out the tire barrel that may or may not have been there for him at the time, depending on netcode. Who absolutely knows? Right back on him, though. Grim Lilith trying to make a move on Muhammad, and he can't quite get it done. Just about had a look. Gonna try and go the long way, cuts it back to the inside. Muhammad's not having any of it, holding a very pretty wheel. These two contact several times, including a spin for the both of them thus far into the race. And they're still going at it. He very nearly does it one more time, but he gets onto the binders and keeps it from happening. You hate to see two competitors come to contact, but my goodness, is it not interesting to watch them fight this out?
I think Grim's getting really aggressive now. He's getting really annoyed that he's stuck behind someone who's slower. He knows he can go faster. I think Grim could be up in with Bill, in the top 5 but he's just stuck. But that's the problem when you're stuck behind someone who's in the same class, but is just that tad slower. You are better around the track, you know. Not saying Suimi's a bad driver, but you know, this might not be their best track. You know, we all have a bad track that we don't like racing, but you know, if it's in the championship and you need some points, you race it. But it's just one of these things. And
Oh,
again,
but he's got to do this. Grim's got to do
yeah.
this, though. He's got to stay as close as humanly possible to the back of Suhaimi, because if he doesn't, he's giving up time. And if Muhammad makes a mistake or goes a little bit wide, he'll be too far back to capitalize. He's got to try and do this. Unfortunately, it's come off wrong a couple of times, but I think he's reining it in now. He's literally close enough to do an oil change on that Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Oh, Tim Ireland's gone off at turn 3. Daly's just passed on the. You see there the white dot.
I have no idea where
cut.
we're at on the racetrack with this camera. I don't.
We've just gone through turn 3, going up to 4, and then the hairpin.
That was a very odd placed camera. I had no idea where we were, and that wasn't my fault. That's the first thing this evening that wasn't my fault. Mark that down. Contact here between the 32 and the 115. And
yeah, it's Lilith and Sweeney again.
Yeah, certainly was. Won't let me replay that, but there you have it.
But I did see we have lost. I think we've lost 2 cars now. I know we've lost one. We just lost Asprey. Alan Asprey did come into the pit lane, came into the garage, and the garage door has come down. And they have retired from the race. Unfortunately, not sure why. We might find out at some point, but we have to wait to see if they chirp on that one. But I did see Shooten as well in turn 1. I think looped it around, maybe hit the apex curb, or just got went wide onto the grass, and they were yellow flagged, but they got going again. But yeah, it's like Suzuka, it's a non-stop mayhem here today, Jesse.
Certainly is mayhem. You never know where it's going to find you, and you never know exactly what's going to happen. Jordan Daly leads by 8.4 seconds, clean sailing for the Just Gamers 197. Looking positively in the driver's seat, figuratively, and of course, very much literally. Timothy Flamker in second place. Joe Dalber promoted into third place, is actually not that far behind Flamker in the number 19. Those two cars might come together here at the end of this race and put on a show for P2. Redford, of course, for the moment in front of Phil Roberts. Phil Roberts, of course, has had a rough one to begin with, but just about for the second time today, back to where they qualified.
Yeah, Phil Roberts he's doing so well in that car. But he 1.4 seconds away from Redford. Hopefully Redford lets him pass pretty nice and easy, but there is Pusina right behind Phil, just getting all that slipstream on the straights and just sticking with him. But so you just have to see what Redford does, see if Phil can get past, try and catch up with Dolber. I think they are good, like 13, 14 seconds away due to Lilith and Suimi fighting earlier on. I just wait and see when they cross the timing lines. They will do in 1 second. 18.2 seconds. That's a pretty big gap, as you can see on the track map on the right hand side of your screen. You see Daly, he's gone 8.8 seconds away from Flamger. There's Flamger and Joe Dolber with 2.3 between them going into turn 3. And then it's followed by Redford, Roberts and Pacina, who are 18 to 19 seconds back. So pretty split in places, but there's still at least 2 or 3 fights going on. There's a car off as well. Matthew Malcolm spun second after the second chicane somehow. Not too sure what happened there, but they were yellow flagged just a second ago. I think they would have lost some. Lost at least a place or 2. But yeah, that was a corner after the chicane, so not sure what happened there, but maybe just caught the curb wrong. Maybe caught there's an exit curb around there that is pretty slippy. They're all quite slippery around here, Jesse. The exit curves, something you don't really want to stay on for too long.
Certainly is the case. The track around the edges here is so much dirtier than a lot of other racetracks, and maybe that's just how we perceive it because the raceable room is somewhat smaller in general compared to most modern racing circuits that we perceive it that way. But going off just a little bit here is a big deal in comparison to other tracks where it may not be. Well, Muhammad and Grimm continue their fight over what was at the time P4. It's now P7 they're fighting over. You got to watch out for George Kwiatkowski in ninth place. The 212 Ferrari is only 2.8 seconds back. And if they continue this, remember earlier on it was Phil Roberts that caught these two for their position. So be careful with that. Joe Dauber making a little bit of progress on Flamger here. It's down to 2 seconds. It was 2.3 last time through. It's down to 2 now. That's the battle for P2 continuing. Adna Prusina continuing their fight with Phil Roberts, though this gap was a little bit closer just a few moments ago than it is right now.
So just to put into perspective of how fast Daly's going compared to, in the M4 compared to Flamger in the Porsche. 10-second gap now, as you can see top left of the screen. Last lap for Daly was a 33.932, so a 34 dead. Flamger was a 34.7. Fastest laps, a 33.2 for Daly, 33.8 for Flamger. So that's a 6/10 gap difference, and he's about that at 6 to 7 tenths a lap. So Daly is he's just walking away with this. He's just got to keep it on the track. He's got to be careful of back markers, and hopefully they see him as well as him seeing them, because like you said before, it's the trust. You got to trust the driver in front, but they've got to trust you. It's a trust either way, and you just got to be looking in your mirrors most of the time.
That is the thing. And if you're the leader and you have a big enough lead like this, we're talking about 10 seconds of gap, folks, you really shouldn't be pressing at this point. You don't want to let off too much. I know that messes with racing drivers. You practice at a certain pace, you qualify at a certain pace, and whenever you're told to back off, you make more mistakes. Why is that? Because you don't know what that is. You don't have the muscle memory. You don't have the notebook on what it's like to go at 85%. So you stay at a certain level, but even that still, you've got to know with 10 seconds of lead, you have the best car, you did as good as you could possibly do today. We're looking at max points for Jordan Daly as a Speed Juice fastest lap, of course, as well. He's looking to take control of this championship nice and early. You just got to be careful here. When you get around other cars, you've got to make calculated sort of risks, and you can take your time. You can size up opponents. Hopefully, when you do catch cars, I think the next group that they will catch is Neil Pimlott and Matthew Malcolm. That's 14th and 15th place. When they're in a fight, that's also something you have to think about too, right? You have to think, well, if they're in a fight, I have 10 seconds. Surely I can give up a little bit.
Yeah, it's just one of them. You just got to think. You got to. Yeah, it's difficult when we can sit here and we can say, well, they should do this, and do this. When you're driving, when you're Matthew Malcolm with Neil Pimlott behind you, it's very difficult to come into braking zones, get the car in, concentrate on what your car's doing, listen to the tyre noises, making sure you're not slipping out. Then keep an eye on the car behind you to make sure they're not either, losing it and might crash into you, or trying to go for a move on you and into corners, out of corners. So there's a lot going on for you to process, and we're just sat here looking at the screens going, they should do this, they're doing it wrong.
Sure.
But it's it's one of them. But
let me ask you this, from your perspective. Let's say you are Neil Pimlott, okay? You're racing with Matthew Malcolm. Malcolm has had well, he's gone forward, admittedly. Neil Pimlott is fighting their way from nearly the back of this field, right? And the next car you're going to see come up behind you is going to likely be the leader. You're in this fight. For you, Ted, does this add urgency to get by Matthew Malcolm if you can? Or are you just so focused that you're not even aware of the approaching lead lap car?
I would keep an eye, because I have the full track map on the screen, because that's the one thing you do in sim racing is have these little aids you can. But I would glance every now and then, but I'd be focused on Malcolm mostly. Well, I want to get past him. I just need to stick with him, see if he makes a mistake. Grimlith looking for another move into the chicane again. He really want to get past. Very aggressive this race, but um, yeah, I'd just be focused on the car in front of me. You know, you're not that far away. You don't want to make mistakes. You want to try and keep it clean, keep the slipstream, because that's going to help you if you do make a little mistake in or out of corners. Um, but once you start seeing the triangle get closer, as today we have the triangle today, Jesse. Apparently last week we didn't, but you
Yeah,
see there daily.
well, I tell you what, we didn't also too. We didn't have it when we first started the stream, but because I had to restart today, it magically decided to show up to work at Night Owl tonight.
Oh.
I didn't do anything different, and it's here again. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about the track map on the right side of your screen. It has all the car numbers and where they are on the racetrack. Yeah, the leader is not a circle. The leader is a triangle, and that is, of course, the 197 car. For several weeks, we haven't had that, and I have no idea why it's not been there. Today, it just magically is.
Well, there you go. It all worked out, and Suwami there just getting a little bit sideways, almost ended up on the grass. Grimlev goes for the outside move, but tucks it in back behind. So Grims really do want to get past. They're losing loads of time on Phil. Phil's gained up on Pacina. He's now within a second of them, so soon to be in a slipstream. But yeah, I feel for Grim right now, but it's one of these things. The same with like Pimlock's not in the same position of like he's getting annoyed and he wants to get past, and you know, this is where Pimlock needs to chill with Malcolm and then pick the move to go. Whereas Grim's trying to do every single move, which is fine, because that might put Zuimi into a mistake, into a corner, bad braking or bad exit and stuff, and Grim might be able to get into the inside or the outside, depending on what it is. But it's two different driving styles with trying to overtake here, and you just have to see which one works out. And obviously, we already know Grim's pushing people sideways and stuff, so maybe he needs a bit of that thing called Driver 61, Jesse. Do you know anything about that?
I sure would. And of course, if you are trying to elevate your sim racing ability, Driver 61 has you covered with one-on-one driver coaching and full-on racing schools. Driver61.com is the place to go. And for you folks here, viewers of RCI TV, you can get 25% off one-on-one driver coaching by using our discount code in the description. Case in point, a little bit of a mistake here made, and it's going to be, he shot the gap! Muhammad shot the gap! What an incredible drive! It's absolutely bone-chillingly scary, and there's another car off, and that was George Kiyakowski. Lee Kettle has been off, but what an incredible job that was from Muhammad, shooting the gap. Incredible stuff. Matthew Malcolm has crashed as well.
Yep. It's all happening at once when we're trying to do a partner.
But you can get 25% off your driver coaching to help avoid maneuvers like that. Thank you. And thanks to Driver 61.
But yeah, when I said doing a daily, Daly's done that before, where he's gone between the barriers and got back onto the track, onto the racing line, didn't hit anyone. I think it was a little bit damp, if I remember rightly, but he's not done it since. But saying that, in the practice session beforehand, he took a screenshot and he was flying because he took so much speed. So luckily he's not doing that right now, and hopefully he doesn't do that, because he is in the lead by 10.8 seconds. That is one hell of a gap from Jordan Daly. He's just got to make his way through some back markers. Who's he coming up on now? Is that Matthew Malcolm? I think it is. Yep. So he's just got to make his way through. Malcolm will just move to the side and let Daly through. Because of blue flags, you can get reported for blue flag infringement on cars if you stay with, I think it's a sector, not moving out of the way or something like that.
Flashing with the lights there from Daly.
Hey. Yeah, it's just saying, excuse me, coming through. There you go. Malcolm moves to the right. Daly keeps on the racing line, and that is very well done for a back marker car. That's what you should do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. That is how it's drawn up. You know, you give the give the driver a little flash if you feel that that's necessary, and hopefully, they realize if you are off the lead lap at that point, you realize, okay, this isn't my fight, and certainly dealing with issues of their own. Matthew Malcolm not really interested in that. I just hope in that spin that Malcolm had, they didn't further injure themselves. Looking back throughout the field, Timothy Flamger falling off of the lead car, but not falling into the clutches of Joe Dauber. That is Joe Dauber's 777 in the background, mind, but there hasn't been any movement. This gap's been fluctuating between 2 and 3 seconds. It might be going out the last couple of laps. It was down to just about 2 seconds a couple of laps ago. Joe Dauber has now fallen off of the back just a little bit in the Arcel's Incorporated 777, but still keeping Flamger honest.
I just realised what that means, but anyway, I just noticed Grimliv has got past Suhuimi in the 32, and there is quite a big gap already of 2.5 seconds. I'm not sure when that happened, but...
Well, remember, Mohammed was the one that shot the gap into the hairpin.
Oh yeah, there was too much going on, Jesse. I just forgot.
No,
I've got one of these things called a little memory, and things get put in, other things fall out, so...
Mohammed shot the gap, and I erupted in just so many times, folks. That ends in utter devastation and destruction. I've even seen a car flipped upside down into that barrier before they hit so hard. But somehow, Mohammed Suhaimi was able to navigate at decent speed, too, as well, mind, through that tiny hole. There's a tiny hole in that wall, which we're coming up to now. And... well, actually, no, we're not. We're on the backside of the circuit, I've just realized. But there's this little hole that you can sort of chicane your way through. It is dangerous because you get shot out the other side back onto the racetrack. Somehow, Grim able to avoid that. Muhammad able to regain control of the race car. It's just crazy. George Kwiatkowski lost it behind them and was able to gather it all back in. Still don't know what happened to the 212 in that situation that got them out of sorts with... some of the other cars, but never mind, they all continue on. And if you look at the Spike Rerun 32 car, no damage, so they did get through that completely unscathed. Only the one position lost.
Well, that's very lucky, and you've been holding on to that position for basically the whole race, and you've done very well. Phil tries to go for the outside, thinks better of it, and cuts back behind Piscina. Still wanted to get past Piscina. Piscina saying no, I need to catch Redford. 60 minutes of the race left to go, almost three quarters of the way through, and it's been manic, but yeah, it's just one of these things with this track as well.
Piscina.
Ooh,
oh, Phil upset.
off.
Phil, okay, I was going to ask you, what was Phil upset? Clearly Phil upset. I can read headlights like some people can read lips. Phil Roberts was upset at Adna Piscina. But, Ted, you're the expert. Why?
I know Phil's not in the best of moods today. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's to do with the track, and it was greasy earlier. No rain on the way, though. There will be no rain for this race. I know Redford's been practicing on a wet circuit, so he's not very happy. But he is in first at the minute with a pretty good lead. But I think Phil's in one of those moods where when he's annoyed, he's just annoyed at everything, which is fair enough. And he's concentrating. It's a hard track to do. He's trying to overtake Piscina, and I think he's getting annoyed of why is Piscina not letting me through? He's a silver car, I'm a pro car. Just let me nip by, and you can continue with the race, and you can follow me with a slipstream. Is probably what Phil's thinking. Also, with the little mistake from Piscina, it's probably put him in an even worse of a mood because Phil almost lost it himself. But yeah, it's just how Phil goes. It's how Phil rocks, and we're used to it. We're close friends with Phil, and it's just everyone has their up and down days, and I've been there many times. I've shouted at people when they annoy me on the racetrack, but these things happen.
Well, we haven't talked at all about Zoricic today in the 175. The Sipka, I'm probably absolutely ruining that. Some of the Czech folk will have to correct my grammar. The Sipka Racing 175. In third place in the silver class, they've got Marvin Steer behind them, and that is not for position in class, of course. it is for position overall on the racetrack. And I think for that reason, the 91 of Rapid Racing Audi, they're not really pressing too awful hard here.
Yeah, I think they're
it's
just...
done.
Oh, it's done. We're missing a lot of things tonight, Jesse.
Well, I'm just saying, Phil,
they just happen out of nowhere. But
there's so many things going on, and Phil Roberts has done him, and that is the flash of an upset Pusina.
So Phil's used his, you know, he's got his little sponsor in his car, Sentech, and he used it. You know, he used his Sentech-ism to get past that M4, but yeah, Pusina is not happy. So whatever happened was not either not a clean overtake or just not a nice overtake. You know,
another car coming through the wall here. It's Mike Redford. The Mike Racing 95 has had a huge off coming down to the hairpin, and they've just about saved it and got it back onto the racetrack, folks. That's for P4, and now that's going to bring all of these cars into the fight. Phil Roberts, Pusina, and now Grim Lilith creeping back into the picture in this fight, and that could not have been good for Mike Redford's tires. That could not have been good for his confidence, and that could not have come at a worse time with less than 13 minutes to go.
He had like a 4 or 5 second gap to Pusina, and now it's gone. He has the second gap. That's basically nothing. Just having a look back to see, did he go through it sideways?
He was definitely sideways at some point. I don't know if I don't think he...
Oh yeah, he went wide. He almost hit the wall. He got on the brakes just in time. Had to turn left to get back towards the little gap in the wall, and then turn right to get onto the racetrack. So that's why he lost all of his time. He had an 8-second gap to fill at that point before it happened. So he lost 7 seconds because he went all the way to the wall. We'll have a look. We'll have a look in a minute, and we can show you where the wall is he went to, and it's basically an L-shaped barrier, and he went all the way to it.
Well, let's take a look here and show you exactly what Ted's talking about coming through this section of the racetrack.
And he just went wide here and went all the way to where that crane is in the distance, and went all the way to the wall, and had to turn left to get back through this little shortcut, and then turn right and carry on like this. So a pretty big distance to slide. He saved it from hitting the wall, which is the biggest thing for him. He can get back and keep motoring again in that 95, but God, he lost a lot of time. And yeah, that 11 minutes doesn't, you know, it seems a short amount of time, but when you're racing, it's not.
Here's the thing, if he had an 8-second gap, you might generally argue, well, he surely should be able to get that back, of course, right? But keep in mind, that gap really wasn't versus Phil Roberts, who has now cleared Pusina and Grim Lilith behind, and now it's Phil Roberts for Kaiju Racing driving up and trying to catch him. You might argue these two are sort of where they belong, or where they sort of started in the first place. Obviously, Pusina was in front of Redford for the silver class. Pusina was on pole, but they're all sort of back to where they began. Phil Roberts was quicker in qualifying, and we'll see as they come across the line here this time. It was a 34.5 for Redford. It was a 34.8 for Phil Roberts. That kind of exemplifies the magnitude of the problem with 10.5 minutes to go. Phil Roberts isn't only there, he's quicker.
Sure is, and I think with Redford, there could have been a setup issue, and you know, I've heard this thing called you know, Go setups, and you know, they're very good with their setups. I've used them a few times, and they've helped me out a lot. I think Redford needs some of them. Jesse, you know, Go setups provides AC setups for all skill levels. They got some esports ones. They got some safe setups if you don't like them too much, a bit slidey. You only just get into grips with ACC. You can use the safe ones. We've got wet weather setups as well. So if it's pouring rain, you can whack one of those on, and it will help you out just nicely. But they were built by some of the fastest professional esports drivers and sim engineers out there. They provide fully tailored esports setups, as I just said. You know, 3 different setups you can get for I think almost all the cars now. I think they're working through some of them at the minute. They do have it on their Discord. They have a little thing of what is first to come and what is last to come. But they are getting through them. Especially all the new cars are on there. You can get one for the 296 Ferrari if you feel so, and if you need so probably. But you can visit the link in the description to browse their premium setup shop today. And You can buy one set, Jesse, or you can get a subscription and download a certain amount of liveries a month.
Yeah, you certainly can. Been enjoying the Lamborghini setups. Been trying to reintroduce myself to the Lamborghini ecosystem. Been driving the brand new Evo 2 on Assetto Corsa Competizione, in no small part helped by Go setups. It trimmed from my base lap, and this is not a word of a lie. It trimmed about a second and a half off of my base time. Pretty much every circuit that I was using them at. So extra little thank you to Go Setups for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, you don't you can just take the default setup or the aggressive setup or the safe setup from what ACC gives you, and they are apparently, from what I've heard, is the engineers from the manufacturers, they help, or you know, from the teams help make that when new cars and that come out for, so they have a baseline. It's not what they would use in the IRL, but it's near enough what a baseline they would do before they start messing with it. They are good, but you know, when you get a setup like Go Setups and you whack one on, it is night and day of difference. You know, I've tried to make my own before, and it's not gone too well. I whacked one of those setups on, and I was flying. I was actually pretty competitive, which was nice. And you know, it's just one of those things. Until you try them, you just don't know how much you can gain on your lap time.
Certainly the case. I was unsure what I was doing wrong in the Lamborghini. That was taking it to some tough racetracks where the Lamborghini is definitely not favored by the default, the base BOP that ACC has, and that's fine. There are certain tracks where it's really, really good, but part of the learning process is just learning how to drive different tracks with it. Obviously, get comfortable with the race car, and my goodness, at Imola, a track that's typically unfavored by the Lamborghini, was able to park it inside the top 10 a few times, and was quite chuffed with that progress. Ooh, scary moments here. Some close quarters racing. I think that's the 06 in between the fray here, as Jones goes down, or is that the 06? I think it is. Goes down to these drivers inside the top 5, and that moved Phil Roberts off the back of Mike Redford just a little bit at this stage of the race. Grimm not quite catching as quickly as I would have thought, but still catching all the same. When we were talking, you noticed that Grimm was able to get by Adna Prusina for 6th place overall, and that further, for the moment, excites this man, Mike Redford, leading in the silver class. Ooh, a little scary moment there. The 141 of Tim Ireland, I think that is, and is going over the bumps. And how will this be handled? Ooh, too close to count. Too close to call.
Steward on steward action here, Jesse.
I had forgotten about that. Oh, that's true, isn't it?
That's the running thing for Night Owl this season.
Dude, I love.
Unfortunately, we've not got any. We don't have Kevin Boss here, unfortunately, for this race. He is busy tonight, so there is no commentary versus Steward tonight. But Steward on steward action is friendly fire, I think.
Yeah, well, either way, Phil Roberts clear of that, has lost some ground, was within a second, down to 1.5, call it 1.6 for the time being. You can see Tim in the background giving way to the Mad Panda liveried car, letting Grimm back through. That gap was nearly 3 seconds. It's down to 1.2 now. That tells you how vital working traffic can be as we just about ready to enter the final 5 minutes of the race. Well, we thought Suzuka was chaotic. It was a lot of good racing, a lot of side-by-side action. We thought that might have calmed down here a little bit, round number 2 at Oulton Park. It has not. The speeds have been slower here today, as you would expect from a smaller racetrack, but they are still, every single one of these drivers has been up on the wheel all day. What are you putting in the water here in Night Owl?
Well, I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to find out, but yeah, it's surprising because, you know, Suzuka is, you know, is a good track. The tarmac surface is a lot slippier than most of the tracks, or all of the tracks we have here at ACC. Kunos have also said that they've tried to replicate the real life grip of the circuit, and it's not as grippy as, you know, you'd think. It's quite a loose one, especially with the temperatures they had last week. But you think here, better grip, slower, they'd sort of calmed down a bit more. But yeah, like you said, they are not calmed down as much as we thought they would have. You know, but all in all, it's not been too bad. Only I think one real big collision was with Grim Lilith and Mohammed Suhami at the final corner, and Grim did give the place back. So, you know, it wasn't too bad, but you know, could have been a little bit better, Grim. But I can understand from him getting a little bit, you know, annoyed, aggressive, just wants to get past, and he has now, but 3 minutes 40 left for the race is not great. But here we see the 32 on the 903 gets past pretty easily. I think Pacina knows that they only can get second place here, and you know, just lets the 32 pass, which is a very sensible idea. You know, I think Redford's pretty far away from Pacina now. Yeah, about 8 seconds difference. So unless Redford decides to start lawnmowing again, gonna stay second place for Pacina.
Certainly is. I think a smart move for Adna there. I don't know what's going on with that BMW. The 903 qualified on pole, and they've been working their way backwards. They had caught up to Mike Redford at some point in the middle part of this race, but of course with the pro cars that had their issues, Phil Roberts, Grivalilith, Muhammad, of course, all of those cars coming back through, it's created a decent sized gap now, much to the frustration of Pacina, but much to the delight of Mike Redford, who still stays in front of this driver, Phil Roberts. Oh, and it's a big slide. Ooh. It's a huge counter.
He saves it, though.
Somehow saves the car. Can't save the position. Grim Lilith is through, but my goodness, that's a monster race car, and that's a monster save. Oh, but has he? He's overdriven it into the hairpin.
Oh, no. It's because of the slide, and the grass and the tyres are going to be hot and slick. Slicker than slick tyres are normally used to be. So that, you know, he just loses under braking there. And he's only lost one position to Grim, but I think he's fine. I think that's a bat marker. Yeah, that's Tim Ireland, so he's not too, you know, he's not in the mud yet, as we like to say, but he just needs to keep the car on the track for 1 minute and 44 seconds. Where is Dave? Daly's gone through turn 3 now, goes to turn 4 and 5.
We will definitely have one more lap.
Yeah, we will have one more, so Phil just needs to do this lap and another one. Another 2, sorry. He just needs to control that car a bit more. You know, Tim Ireland is in the way to the 32 behind him, and you know, Pacina is not for points in class. So it's poor Phil, just lost 4th place in pro, down to 5th. Still top 5, I think, from Phil. From what's happened, is very good going, and just shows that he has pace there. Just a few little mistakes he needs to tweak out. But yeah, just looking at the top end of the field as well, Flanger is still 10.8 seconds away from Daly. So, ooh, who is that? Lee Kettle again, almost taking the same route as he did before, but he doesn't. It keeps on the track just in 19th place, still going. I've got to give it to him. He is 2 or 3 laps down from the leaders, and he's still driving, and I'm going to give that to the man. You know, one of those, you know, when you have a really bad race and it's not going your way and you're down in last place, we did lose 2 cars, so he's not last place overall, which is good news for him. But you know, when you're that far down, you're not having a great time, you're spinning, sliding, car's not going your way, you just want to give up. But you know, gotta give it to him. Kettle is still going around.
Certainly the case. Spirit of the Race Award candidate, if we indeed gave away an award for such a thing. Still got the best name in sim racing though, Lee. Don't worry about that. I'm not biased at all. You cannot prove it. Jordan Daly on the last lap of the race, and what a race it has been for Jordan Daly, almost certainly completely unaware of all of the drama. They've stayed out of it here today. They've had excellent driving all day long, including around cars that are blue flagged. No dramas whatsoever for the 197 BMW. Just gamers, just winners here tonight.
Yeah, I think the reason why he's doing so well, I think he's got a bit of a Barbie girl playing in his head all this race long. He's just jamming along to that, so got to give it to him. He's just been chilling. Here we go, coming up to the last corner, following Neil Pimlott. Poor Pimlott now has to do another lap. He could have slowed down
He
and
still can.
crossed the line. He
If he's
can,
smart
yeah.
about it, he can do this. I don't know. I
I
think he's
would.
gonna. He's gonna.
He's
Yeah,
gonna
but
do another one.
he's gonna err on the side of pride. Jordan Daly
Ah,
across the line, and it's a brilliant win. Flag to flag, the pole, the fastest lap, and the win. Maximum points. Your championship leader extends his lead tonight.
yeah, nice race from Daly, just keeping 11.8 seconds across the line. Here comes Flamger in second place. What a drive by him. But them two and Dolber really didn't hit anything from them. I think Dolber at the beginning of the race had a few little touches, probably with Grim and so on. But yeah, very well done from Dolber as well. Third place. Redford for silver, second to last corner. Still got another corner to go. Uh, but yeah, Redford's done so well. Even with his off, that almost ended his podium position. He did very well to keep hold of it. Kept Buzina behind him. And here he comes across the line for first in silver, the 95. Yeah, Mike Redford, but very well done. Grimlin is behind him as well for fourth in the pro class. Phil's gone down to sixth, seventh overall. Shawami did.
That was after the
fifth place.
flag. That accident
was it?
that.
Oh,
Well,
that
no,
accident was after
Phil
the flag,
Roberts
yeah.
did go down to eighth. You're right about that.
Sorry.
Christina did get. Well, actually, no, I'm not sure. According to timing and scoring at the line, Phil was P7, which tells me that Muhammad Afif Suhami did get around him. I wonder if that was another incident. He was in front of Adna Pusina, who finishes P2 in the silver class, but did settle on pole, mind you, so gets a little extra bonus points. And just what a race. It's going to take some sorting through here. Let's look at our overall Daily Flamger Dauber, your podium positions in pro. It's Redford, Pusina, and Zoricic is your podium in silver. What a round, what a race it was. Crazy till the last.
Yeah, even to the end, from start to finish, there was non-stop talking about every driver that was there. Obviously, Daly and Flamger, we sort of let them do their own race. They weren't really into anything, any trouble or anything. But from there backwards, everyone was fighting for a position. Doesn't matter what class you were in, pro or silver. There was a lot of fights going on, and it was some good fights we saw.
Well, what a race. What a crazy finish. Still don't know what happened. Phil Roberts, by the way, confirming what I thought I saw, does get credit for a seventh place finish. That's sixth in class. They did end up behind Muhammad. Don't know what happened to get to that point. I think we can have a little bit of a guess as to what might have transpired based on the late race issues of the Kaiju McLaren, but we don't know that for sure. Muhammad, what an up and down day. They would have been hoping for a top five. They do get back into the top five in the class, sixth overall, however. Pusina, though, in second in their class, and you just wonder what happened to cause the 903 to fade late into that race. But beyond that, still decent points. You can win the championship from there as well. And Zoricic didn't talk much about the 175 until the end. Out of nowhere, kind of quiet day, a podium. Can't be mad at that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they did so, everyone did really well today. Top three in pro just kept to their own race. The silver lot it mixed in with the pro guys, sort of trying to defend from the pros to try and have a bit of bragging rights, I suppose, for the overall. But yeah, it did very well indeed. Just looking at the results on my end, and yeah, Phil Roberts was half a second behind Mohammed at the end there, so whatever happened was not good. But Mike Redford gets first in silver with a 9.3-second gap to Pacina, and Pacina had a 16-second gap to Zororik, who is in third. So there was some big gaps, but there was still fighting going on between the classes themselves.
No, you're absolutely right. We had fighting immediately when the race started, as you would expect, but a lot of those battles did persist right down to the end of the race. I asked you what we're putting in the water here on Night Owl because it's been like that for the last it's been that like that for the last couple of seasons, as a matter of fact. But
Hmm.
it
Sure
still
has.
continues here tonight. Speaking of tonight's race, it was only round 2 of the championship, which means in 1 week's time, where are we going to be?
We're gonna be at the other end of the ocean, Jesse, in your territory, America, for Indianapolis. So that is next weekend. That's gonna be some fun racing. Haven't seen Indy since I think the esports race I did a bit of commentary on. So that's gonna be interesting to see how these guys get around that track, to see if they stay on the track this time, Jesse. And to see if we can have a cleaner race than today.
Well, it's going to be an interesting race at Indianapolis road course because it's sort of the median between Suzuka and Oulton Park. Suzuka, very fast flowing racetrack. Oulton Park, a tight technical racetrack. You get a little bit of both worlds depending on what sector you're in at Indianapolis road course. I don't think anybody is going to be settled down in time for that race. I expect for the third race in the row, another fantastic event. I think we're going to have flag to flag battles. Of course, that gigantic pit straight at Indianapolis always makes turn 1 interesting. And of course, you talk about keeping it on the track. They've got miles they can run off the racetrack and not get themselves into trouble in Indianapolis. I suspect we'll have more of the same. The real question is, will we see Jordan Daly for the third time asking, winning again? I don't know. I don't know what that car's capable of at Indianapolis.
Well,
Can't wait to go.
he did just say in the chat, "Go setups for the win." So we know what he's running,
Did
Jesse.
he really
One of
use a
our
go setup tonight?
he did. He's
Not
loving the go
not
setups right now.
not
So
paid, by the way.
nope.
That's a real endorsement from Jordan
So
Daly.
you know, go setups, they do work. We are not just saying it. They do work, and they do help you win races. So
Mike
you know,
Redford chiming in saying that he is not a fan of the Indianapolis road course. So quite curious. Usually, and I will say this for Michael's benefit, usually when a driver complains, I think Priscilla did this once. They complained. We went to that racetrack and they absolutely stunk up the show. They won the race by a mile. So maybe that's what Mike Redford is attempting to deploy here tonight.
well, we'll have to wait and see 1 week until we get to see that, Jesse. I actually can't wait for Indy. It's technical track. Got fast corners, slow corners. It's a rover, as you guys like to say. So we just have to wait and see. But on the other things, we do have the RCI 24 hours of Spa one off. That is on the 29th of July. Signups are now open. If you head over to racerci.com, you can see what championships are there. And BMW has his final round on Monday that I am participating in, Jesse.
Oh, it's been
It is.
such a good
Oh, it's
championship.
been good. Yeah, I joined for this from the second round. I missed. Funny enough, I missed Indy because I didn't want to do it. I'm not a fan of that track, but I let's say I just snuck out on that one. But yeah, we are at Imola. Imola for the final round, round 6 of the BMW Academy. It was a good one. Hopefully, we do another thing like this again. Just have to see if Tim Ireland has, he does some good champs on a Monday, some wacky weird champs, just like Night Owl, a bit weird and wacky with its pit requirements. But yeah, you can sign up on the website for that for the final round. That is 2 days time. And also, don't forget Night Owl. You can mid-season sign up. There is still 3 rounds to go. So there is that as well. But one big thing, Jesse, World Tour 2023 signups are now open. They were opened, I believe, today. Calendar consists of Valencia, Monza, Bathurst, Suzuka, and Watkins Glen. Suzuka is the 24-hour race voted by you. And that was a very big surprise. They were very close between Suzuka and I believe a Nürburgring, which was very surprising. But Suzuka does edge out with the win. So it's going to be a fun one. Valencia is a 6-hour race, followed by Monza, which is a 12, followed by Bathurst 6-hour, followed by the 24 Suzuka, and then for the final, it's 6 hours of the lovely Watkins Glen. Probably one of my favorite tracks. This Canada is pretty good, Jesse. Valencia, I love. Monza, I love. Bathurst, I love completely. Hit a wall, you're out. I just love it. It's dangerous. Suzuka, it's all right. 24 hours might be good to see. Through the Degners, under the bridge, over the bridge. 130 hour is all lots of fun. And then yeah, Watkins Glen with its just nice, smooth, twisty corners that flow lovely. I can't wait to see it. And yeah, that sign-up's open now until 12th of August or the 11th of August. So get your sign-ups in, and yeah, I think we'll have pre-queue open at some point. Not sure if it's open now, but it will be open soon. Get a team together, and don't forget our Discord. We do have a channel in here that you can. Looking for a team, you say, "Hey, anyone need a driver?" And there'll be someone out there that'll pick you up. I've been picked up before for a race, and it's always a good laugh to do a series of endurance together.
Certainly is. World Tour 2023. If you've never participated in RCI's World Tour, first of all, if you've never participated in Night Owl, I think it goes hand in hand, the World Tour and Night Owl, simply because they are just staples of the sim racing calendar. They're traditions around here, and the 2023 schedule being announced and in part voted on by you as well.
Mm.
Very cool to be a part of that. We put back we give the power back to the community, and they have spoken. So World Tour, don't miss out on the entire series coming at you late summer this year. RaceRCI.com. Finally, a few thank yous to Digital Motorsports. Digital Motorsports is your one-stop shop for sim racing hardware. No matter what your brand, no matter what your rig, they've got you covered. And while you're over there, if you're maybe looking for a brand new sim rig, they have a sim rig builder. That's right. Build the sim rig of your dreams or your budget over at digitalmotorsport.com. Use the link in the description. Get set up. Check it out. I've used it. It's actually quite nice. I've never seen anything quite like it. digitalmotorsport.com. Of course, a big thank you to AK Esports. Well, they help us immensely with our server hosting and events that we put on. For more information on how AK can help you, akesports.it. And of course, last but definitely not least, in fact, they're first in their field, Fanatec, the sim racing leader for direct drive hardware. I heard they've got some deals over there at fanatec.com right now. Go and check it out. Thank you for using our affiliate link in the description when making purchases. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps us out with things like server cost. Big thank you, and go check out some of the things they have on sale at fanatec.com. Ted, did I miss anything? Anything you can think of before we wrap up tonight?
You didn't miss anything. I didn't miss anything. We have done our checklist, Jesse, a little tick list, but yeah. Well, there is one thing. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. You just for the notifications for when we go live. Hey yo, I have that bell. Come on, I get a little notification, even though I'm sitting here and Jesse tells me we've gone live. But yeah, it helps us out so much, and you can't miss this action. You don't get this action, I don't think, anywhere else. Night Owl is one of a kind on a Saturday night. Late night for Europeans and normal time for you Americans, I would say. But it is good fun. But yeah, it's been one hell of a race. We just have to wait until Indianapolis in 1 week's time. But until then, Jesse, I think it's a goodbye from us.
It certainly is. Thank you all very much for watching. We hope you have a good evening. And even though we're not streaming here on RCI TV, the Monday Championship, we invite you to go to Oriosh and Crashneck over on Twitch. A couple of our broadcasters here that are racing in the series that are streaming their perspectives. That's Oriosh, that's Oreo with an SH on the end, and Crashneck, all one word, over on Twitch. You can see them on Monday for the finale of the BMW Championship we're running on Monday. Shout out to those guys. On behalf of myself, Jesse Lee, here with Ted Edwards and everybody here at RCI, we thank you for watching tonight's broadcast. We'll be in Indianapolis, Indiana next week to bring you the middle round of Night Owl Season 14. But until then, have a good night.